What is going on, Irregulars? Welcome back on another Thursday. It is your boy Bobby.
And not your girl, Katie. We need to figure something out
I
for that.
know, I know.
Help us.
Help.
Help, not your girl,
It's like that.
Katie.
It's like that meme or the GIF of Kevin Hart, and he's like, "Help me!" You know what I
I
mean?
say
Like,
that a lot to people just about everything in general. So
there you go.
just help me.
Just help for everything. So
Normal plug, intro music rocks. Dan
yes,
LeBay, D.L. Productions on Instagram. Thank you for the fire beat.
thank you. Caitlin, what are we doing today?
I just need to preface this with we really don't spend a ton of time prepping for episodes, especially when it's just you and I together. We do a little bit for guests, but we just spent the last 2.5 hours preparing for this, and we're so excited to get into it.
So, like, I think that I agree, but like, I think it was worded a little poorly. I'm gonna call you out. We prep, but like
We don't
structured.
script.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
don't script, and not that this episode is gonna be scripted, but like we try to, like we say all the time, we want to be authentic on here, and we want kind of like that gut feeling and what everyone is gonna say. And this time we're like, oh man, we really have to. We have to map this episode out,
Mm-hmm.
like because we let people when we have our guests on, we tell them it's their story,
And
and
we
it's
let them
it's
kind of
it's their episode.
direct it. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one we're like, if we don't have a plan, we are fucked.
And that
So
is because of all of the awesome feedback we got from you guys. We kind of went into today like, we need to record just an episode, you and I. Like, what the hell are we going to talk about? And I was ducking it all day, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And Bobby, you really stepped in and helped us out. So thank you for that.
yeah, no problem. I mean, it's not me. Honestly, it's our listeners. Like people just we have so many questions here. So kind of what we're gonna do today is we asked, um, what do you want to ask the opposite sex? Like, what are questions that you have for the opposite sex that you don't have an answer to, or that you genuinely just don't know? You know what I mean? Or what do you think about this? Um, we have so many questions. So, oh my gosh, we were flooded with questions in such a short period of time. We were like, oh shit, we gotta get moving. So here we are. We have these questions. We're gonna just start right away and get into it. And we're gonna fire off with the question that was asked the most. Okay, can we split the bill on the first date?
I would like to say once and once only, clearly, fuck no. Fuck no. You're paying on the first date. I'm sorry.
Okay, so although I have never split the bill on the first date, okay, or let her pay on the first date, there always has been and there always will be this like, well, if it's your idea, you should pay for it. So
What does that mean?
if a girl asks me out, hey, would you like to go get a drink? That's her asking me out. It's no different than me asking you
I
out.
don't give a fuck. No
Like
way.
you made the
No
plans.
way.
Like you made the
No.
plans. You made the plans. Again, I get it. And I would never, ever, ever let a girl pay. I mean, literally, you know,
I
I never let
actually
a girl pay.
witnessed a date for you the other week, and you didn't let her pay.
No, absolutely not. You know what I mean? So I don't even let girls pay for like the first like 3 months. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and that's
Like,
my thing too. Is like, okay, like the first couple of dates, and let me preface this with, I will always reach for my wallet and pretend that I want to pay, but that does not mean that I want to pay. If I'm reaching for my wallet, ignore me and just take the bill. If I reach for my wallet and you allow me to pay, you can fuck off.
yeah.
I would say that at least the first 3 dates for me is like, just try and like just court me a little bit, let me feel like you got this, daddy. Like after that we can split it. I've been known to pick up the tab when they're in the bathroom on the second or third date,
That's hot.
but like I know it's my low-key power move, but but no, and here's why. I think I've said this a million times. Like a guy shows up on a date, right? His outfit, I mean, unless you're bougie as fuck, your outfit probably costs you between 75 to, let's say, $200 max for you showing up looking like you do. For me to show up this way, I'm talking about an outfit. I'm talking about shoes. I'm talking about a purse. I have makeup on. I've gotten my hair done. I have hair product in my hair. I have jewelry on. I have a whole look that altogether, if you priced out every single thing that's on my body, makeup, hair products, everything included, you're looking at least $600 easily. And that's not even counting my Botox.
Yeah. Oh Jesus. But here's the thing though. No one, and we'll actually get into this a little bit later. No one asked you to do that.
Right.
But
But if I
we'll
didn't
wait
look this
for
way, would you have asked me out?
more than like the answer from a true man. Answer is more than likely, yeah, I still would.
That's because you've never seen me looking like a dumpster fire.
I've drank with you on many occasions.
Okay. All
I've seen you
right.
worse than a dumpster fire. I've seen you a dumpster fire that someone pissed on to put out.
Thank you so much.
Still love you.
Thank you.
So, with that being said, what is your ideal first date then? That's our next question.
Well, I think we should just point out here that, like, if you don't know this by now, it means you're not a loyal listener and you should go back and listen to the first couple episodes that I've had. Your girl is not like a advanced dater. I'm not
Yeah,
great at dates, but the dates that I have gone on, drinks for sure. Like,
just simple.
but I will say this too, and I think this is an unpopular opinion. One of the dates that I went on recently, the guy offered to pick me up, and a lot of people are like, this is how like a Dateline story starts, and you're gonna get like axe murdered in the woods. But I loved that piece of it because like it took some of the anxiety out for me, and also it just felt kind of like, oh, like this guy's taking charge. I kind of like that.
I was actually just out with a couple friends this past weekend for brunch, and it was two girls, and we met up with a couple people down in the city. And on the way home, they did say that like one of the sexiest things. It was like one of those things where it's like, what is sexy that a man does without saying that it's sexy is if he drives me somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. It's something about like relinquishing that control and just being like, oh, I'm the co-pilot, baby.
Yeah. Okay. See, now what's your opinion on like so you said drinks. I agree. I think drinks are very simple. I think it's mature. I think that's what
Yeah.
yeah, that's a mature first date. But like I have a buddy who if I'm not mistaken, their first date, he took a girl skydiving. So like what
Wait, really?
yeah. And they're like still together if I'm not mistaken and like super like in
Okay,
love
that
and
throws a
whatnot.
wrench in my answer then. Because that's kind of hot.
That's kind of hot, but then it also goes back into the first question. Does he pay for the skydiving?
Well, if it was his idea.
But if it was your idea, does he pay? Fuck, right? Yeah,
No,
exactly.
I'm gonna say yes.
Of course you're gonna say yes,
I
of
mean, no.
course.
In that instance, I would probably insist that I paid. But I
You
also
split it, you split it. That's you hey,
right, I mean pay for
you came
myself.
up with this extravagant idea, I'm down, I think it's fair that we split it.
But I will say, if it was my idea, regardless, if a man was like, "No, baby, I insist. I
You're
got
gonna
this," I'd be like, "I'm what?"
fair enough, fair enough.
All right. Are you nervous going on a first date?
And I think this is a huge perception that women don't know about men, and I think this is a great question. Oddly enough, this question was asked by a male, but I think flipping the script is a lot better. Yes. Men are extremely nervous. At least I am. This is from my perspective, but I actually have a story about this too. Quick one. I was getting ready to go on a date and I was freaking the fuck out. And I was texting my buddy and she wound up showing up and I was like, "Oh my god, dude, she's here and she's fucking beautiful. I'm nervous." And he actually and he was like, he like texted me back and was like, "You got this, bro," like blah blah blah. He screenshotted it and posted on his Instagram story. Obviously, he blocked my name out and whatnot, but he was like, he posted and was like, "Oh yeah, hyping your boys up for a date." And like 3 or 4 girls DM'd him off of his story and were like, "Do guys really talk like this?" And he's like, "Yeah, all the time."
That's interesting.
Yeah, dude,
That's actually kind of comforting.
yeah, absolutely. So
Meanwhile,
I think we know your answer
well,
from
no shit, but I will say this, when I went on my very first like legit date after getting out of this wonderful relationship that I was in for 6 years, um sarcasm intended. Anyway, so I actually, to calm my nerves, I started what still continues to this day, an Instagram, like, I guess like video series that I would send all my friends, and I called it Date with Kate, and it began at about 3 p.m. and I would just give them like 5 or 6 series long videos of like how I was feeling, what I was doing, like what outfit I was wearing, what I was nervous about. I live videoed the ride there. Um, they watched me pound a White Claw before I got out of the car. Like,
right. Oh
so
my
the
god.
answer is hard yes,
Hard yes.
hard
Hard
fucking
yes.
yes. But I do. A good friend of mine recommended have a glass of wine while you're getting ready. Like, put on your favorite like pump up music if you're a girl. Like, really get into like what makes you feel the most like you. For me, it's listening to podcasts, ironically, because it reminds me how much I like to talk as well and how funny I am. So
Oh my gosh. Oh my
I'm
gosh.
humble too. So
I swear, I promise.
yeah.
I promise.
Okay, so Bobby, why is it okay for men to bang a very large number of women, but it is not okay for a woman to do the same?
I think this is actually a very simple answer, and we don't need to dissect this anymore. If you are still asking this question in 2021 or at or around our age, you're dumb. I'm sorry. I want to be nice about it, but like you're dumb. I don't care if a girl has banged 200 dudes. If we are on the same page as far as like being in a monogamous relationship, then we're in a monogamous. As long as you're banging me, I don't give a shit.
Oh,
Only me. Who fucking cares?
I'm clapping if you can't hear that.
Yeah,
Thank you. I actually didn't know you were going to say that.
absolutely not. If we're still asking this question, I mean, you are just an ignorant piece of shit. I'm sorry. Like I said, I want to be nice, but I can't. It is dumb. It's the dumbest double standard that should have never existed in the first place. But it's like girls want to fuck just as much as guys. So like,
I don't know
so
if, I mean,
why do we shame them for it?
I
Who
don't know
gives a
if it's
fuck?
just as much, but
Absolutely, I think girls are hornier than guys.
Hmm.
They just societal pressures, again, something we'll get into later, have them internalize it a lot more. But going to college and having like, you ever like stay in the dorm rooms one night instead of go out on a Friday night and just hang out with a couple people
yeah.
and just like drink a little bit, and it's just like you and like a couple of your girlfriends and a couple guys, like 6 people in a dorm, you just drink and you kind of learn a lot about people. I remember doing that one night and being like, yo, you girls are fucking horny as shit. Like, I didn't know that y'all lived next to me. You know what I mean? Like, but no, I don't think we need to ask that question anymore. You're just unintelligent. I'm sorry if
I
you
love
keep.
that.
Okay, so Caitlin, get a little bit more serious here. Have you ever received criticism that was based purely on the fact that you were a woman? Like, for example, if you talk faster or more confidently, that you can kind of come off as bitchy.
I don't know, guys. What do you think?
I guess, yeah, we should ask our listeners.
Never.
Is Caitlin bitchy?
Never. No one. Yes, I'll never forget when I was in 4th grade. I cried because a boy called me bossy, which the adult version of that is bitchy.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure. But I think the way that you respond to it is key, right? I'm sure you can back me up on this because you have witnessed me respond to you specifically in a way that is, I'm confident in my answer and I feel good about what I'm saying and I'm not willing to compromise on it because this is what I believe, and in a way that is me trying to assert my intelligence and my independence in a way that's almost defensive because I am a woman. And I can tell when I'm doing the two. I have to work hard to control the two, but I would imagine that the latter is a lot more transparent and it comes off as bitchy.
Yeah, and I think there's a fine line between like bitchy and confident. Like I mean, there are times where like you'll react to something, and I'm like, okay,
And it's
slow
usually because
down.
I'm reacting emotionally and
Correct.
defensively.
Correct. And
If I'm reacting with my mind and what I believe, I don't think it comes off as bitchy. But when
no.
I react like quickly,
Correct. Yeah. If you react off of emotion, it 100% comes off as bitchy.
because
And
it usually is.
yeah, yeah, okay. You said it. I didn't. But like if you speak someone, for example, like Liv on episode 19, she speaks with very, very much confidence. You know what I mean? And that doesn't come off bitchy at all. It comes off as confident, but she also didn't emotionally react to any
Right,
questions
but
that
I
we
think
asked.
this was more geared towards like when you are responding to something. Like
Okay. Yeah. I think
there's
there's
two ways to respond.
yeah, there's definitely two
And I
ways.
think as women we struggle on
Mm,
that. Um but I think most women know which one they're doing and it's pretty easy to tell the response.
It's a hard balance, definitely.
Yeah, especially cuz we're emotional AF. So let's lighten this up a little bit. um how do you sit to wipe your ass, Bobby?
I'm actually happy that this question was asked because I feel like I'm weird. And go ahead, I don't.
You stand.
So like when I'm done doing my business, I like wad up the toilet paper, whatever you need to do, and I kind of just like
Reach
stand
around
up
the
and keep.
back?
No, I kind of like lean up and forward and stand a little bit more, stay in like a squat position, like an athletic stance, stand up a little and get in there.
Do you wipe back to front or front to back? Like, do you
You
reach
have to
underneath of your ball sack or
no, no.
behind your
No,
body?
you have to go front to back because then you just wipe shit all over your balls
So you reach your arm around your
around.
ass
Yes.
and not underneath of your balls.
How would you go front to back underneath my balls? That you would there's no pressure there to get the mess up. No.
True.
So you stand up slightly, you're not standing straight up so your cheeks pinch together, you know what I mean?
I've never
And
thought about this before, but it is a very perplexing question.
yeah. So you just kind of stand up with like a wide stance and just get up in there and drop up in the toilet.
Okay, well, this is a question that I'm going to ask just off the cuff now that I'm thinking about it because it's something that I've always wondered. For maybe, I really hope that all girls feel this way. But like, okay, like when you're going number one as a girl, if you have to go number two, sometimes it happens at the same time because like number one triggers number two.
Correct.
If you're pissing standing up, what happens if you have to shit at the same time? Like, what do you do?
Okay. So if you can, you try and pinch it off. Like you can do that. Like
Pinch off the poop or the pee?
The pee.
Okay.
You try and pinch off the pee. It's hard to do. Men can do it, but it's very difficult where you just like, oh, and you just kind of close whatever's
Urethra.
there.
It's called the urethra.
Yeah, I get that, but I feel like it's more than just like closing, you know what I mean?
Right.
But and then you try and close it off and then you quick spin around, sit down and let it rip.
And you just hold your pee while you do that?
Yeah,
Sounds
if you
really
can,
hard.
if you can. Sometimes it's just not happening. You then most times though, I would say you just finish your piss and then turn around, sit down and flush the toilet real quick because you don't just in case your shit splashes up, hits you in the ass. You don't want your piss hitting you in the ass, so you flush the toilet real quick, take a shit, go.
Wow. I feel so enlightened.
There you go.
Okay, back to the listeners' questions. On that note, why do dudes take so long to poop? And
This is
with
easy.
that, don't your legs get numb?
This is easy. Answer the second question. Yes, absolutely. If you don't have red marks right above your knees from you on your phone while you're taking a shit, you're not actually taking a shit
Are
properly.
you shitting the whole time?
Absolutely not. It's a decompressor. You know how like you girls go to the bathroom during when you're out and whatnot, and you're like, oh, come with me, Catherine. And you're like, okay, like blah blah, and you're in there for like 65 hours, like doing your hair.
But no, you're talking. You're talking shit usually.
Okay, that which is fine. I get it. This is our way of decompressing, talking shit, and just kind of recollecting our thoughts for the day.
Okay.
This is a simple answer.
So you're not really shitting the entire time.
There's times where I take a 20-minute shit. If I'm shitting for 20 minutes, I need to go to a hospital. I don't care if you're a guy, girl, trans, whatever you want to do. I don't care what you identify. If you are shitting for 20 consistent minutes straight, you need to seek medical attention. Fact.
Well, okay, there's always the day after drinking shit, which I like to call as dads.
Yeah. Dads are
Day
drinking
after
shit.
drinking shits.
Yep.
Dads. They can last pretty long.
They can last pretty long, but
Not me, I don't shit.
You're
But
not.
like I've heard that people do.
You're not consistently shitting for 20 minutes straight. Fact.
Okay, well, that was a lot to unpack. So
Yes. So Caitlin, do you agree that looks aren't everything? And if they're not, then why don't you give someone a chance who you don't find physically attractive?
I will say this. For me personally, looks are not everything. I am way more attracted to a person's personality. With that said, if they look like a dumpster fire, I'm probably not going to even entertain the idea of getting to know them better, which sounds fucked up. I don't mean getting to know them better like in like a general sense, but I mean in the sense of dating. I think if I spend more time with someone who I don't find physically attractive initially, I can kind of flip.
Have you had that? Have you been like, oh man, I don't really find him attractive, and then all of a sudden, like, you hang out with him around people and this and the other thing,
Absolutely.
and then you're like, that guy's kind of hot actually, like the way he kind of
Absolutely.
carries himself in a crowd.
Listen, my college boyfriend, I'll shout him out. He was a little nerdier in college, and I'll say it now. He's a fucking daddy now. So what's up? If you're still single, here I am. But no, he was a little bit nerdy in college, and I thought he was like my dorm buddy, like whatever. And then I hung out with him more, and I was like, just the way he carries himself, he had like a little bit of swag, and then he was super sweet and whatever else. And I ended up dating him for almost 4 years. And I'll say this too, like I was wrong because the sex was was on point, and I would have never saw that
Ooh, the
coming.
nerds coming in. What is it? Revenge of the Nerds. That's a movie. So there it is.
He was the greatest man that ever ate my pussy in my entire life. I know that's super vulgar. Sorry, Dad, if you're listening, but it's just the truth.
There you go. Hey, shout him out. There you go. So if
What do you think?
as far as the original question, I think a lot of how a person looks, and I know like the origin of this question as far as just like physical attraction, but I think like how someone puts themselves together or something like that reflects a lot of their personality. So like if I see a girl who, I mean, it's tough to say because like a girl who like shows up to sweatpants in the bar and like doesn't give a fuck, it's kind of hot too.
But there's
You know
two
what I mean?
different kinds of sweatpants. There's like joggers that are like clean, and then
Yeah.
there's like
I have yeah,
stained.
this is like I painted my room in these and I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I think as far as like how you put yourself together, and again, that doesn't mean like you need to be bougie as fuck and like all the makeup and all this shit. Like you don't need to be like that. But like if you just the way you kind of carry yourself, really reflects your personality. And I think anyone who says that looks don't matter, you're just a liar at this point. You're lying. Okay, you need to be physically attracted to someone. Is it everything? Is it the majority? No, it's not. But initial attraction starts from when I see you. I can't see a personality. You can't, and that's when I meet someone, I see you first. I don't know you first. And then there's the age old saying, here's the misogynist in me is you can't fuck a personality. So, there you go. And there's that. So
that's true. But to play devil's advocate, you can fuck a really hot person and they can be dumb as bricks, and it just
correct.
ruins the entire thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's both sides of every story. I think it's your looks are just as important as your personality and everything else.
Right. So the answer to the question is we don't
Give
know.
everyone a shot. Give everyone a shot. You know me. I think shoot or shoot, and I think if a shooter shoots, you should give him a shot unless there are characteristics of a hard no, like I am not into that.
Right.
And that's fine. So
Also, you should try and say that 5 times fast. Shooter, shoot, shot, check.
shooter shoot shots. Michael Jordan. I don't know. So okay, with that being said, what is one main quality that you find like ideal in your partner? Like what is something that they need to possess?
I would say there's kind of like 2 parts to this answer, but it goes into one. Number 1, you have to be funny. I can't be with someone who does not have a sense of humor because I obviously I do. But with that, they have to be intelligent because there's 2 different kinds of humor. I think there's intelligent humor and there's stupid humor. And stupid humor is funny for sure every once in a while, but
It only gets you so far.
right. Intelligent humor, man, that shit will have me on my ass laughing for hours. And I just something about a smart, funny person is just like, oh my God, I love you.
Okay. So if I'm going to answer this question, mine has recently changed. So if we're talking about like I'm assuming this question is based around like a personality quality. You know what I mean?
Right.
Okay. Me is it's changed recently.
I can't wait to hear it.
Independence.
Oh,
And
okay.
I think you and I have talked about this before a little bit, and I'll just dissect it just a hair. Um, I found that I like when a girl does not need me in any facet of her life at all, but chooses to spend time with me.
Yeah.
And I think if I was 23, I'd be like, that girl just thinks she's the shit. And there are girls, trust me, there are girls out there who just think they're the shit, and that's totally different, a different type of independence. I like the independence of, like I said, she does not need me romantically. She does not need me as a friend. She does not need me professionally. She does not need me socially. She doesn't need anything, but chooses to spend her time with me. That more recently, as I've gotten older, has been my one quality that I think is important.
I love that. I love that for you. Okay, so this one I think is going to differ. I don't know actually between you and I. So as a man, do you ever feel pressured by others, whether it's people that are older than you, the same age, younger, to hurry up and settle down as far as like getting married, having kids, etc.?
My therapist loves me because I've had this conversation. It's the timeline question, right? You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm on a timeline. I'm on a timeline. I I understand the pressure and I understand where it comes from and or where it stems from, and I understand that it's not healthy for me to think that way. Things are a lot easier said than done, though.
So do you feel the pressure?
I think I would be lying if I said no. I do because I've always said like I don't want to be an old dad. You know what I mean? But I've gone through therapy and have realized that there's a lot more to life than having that type of pressure and allowing that pressure to really kind of consume who you are as a person. And I try not to let it um control my day or my week or my basically my overall mindset. The pressure again, I'd be lying if I said the pressure wasn't there. The pressure is there, but I'm trying to work on every single day to not let that pressure overtake me.
That's interesting. That's not how I thought you'd respond. 'Cause I think that a lot of guys, and maybe I'm wrong, I feel like a lot of guys don't feel pressured to settle down.
I think if you asked me when I was 24, the answer would have been drastically different. But as you get older, and you start to realize a little bit more about yourself and a little bit more about what you want in life and everything, I think you'd be surprised about how many guys actually think that way, especially single guys in 2021. Oh my gosh, because we have discussed on the podcast before, dating in your late 20s, early 30s, and in 2020 plus
During a
2021 is very
pandemic.
hard. Yeah, during a pandemic is extremely hard. So I think you'd be surprised about how many guys actually kind of feel this pressure. But I think I know your answer. I mean,
Well, I
I think
think besides some other stuff that we'll unpack in just a minute, I think the biggest thing that I've said over and over again to other people and also my therapist is women have a biological clock, right? Like I
but
believe,
men do too.
but I believe that after, I want to say it's 35 for a woman. After 35, if you get pregnant, it's considered a geriatric pregnancy, which like geriatric basically sounds like you're 100 years old. But with that too, there's a lot of physical complications that you can undergo as a woman. It's a lot more dangerous for your baby and for yourself.
Hmm.
So they say, I mean, who's they? I don't know. But anyway, it's better to have kids younger, right? So at this point, like I'm 29, like I really thought by now I'd be in a different spot. So there is that piece that's kind of like, okay, if I want to be finished having kids by the time that I'm 35, that means that I have 6 years to meet someone, be engaged, be married, and have, for me, ideally 2 children in 6 years, which then breaks it down even further. Like, I need to meet someone right the fuck now. I need to get engaged very quickly. I cannot enjoy my marriage. I need to get pregnant almost immediately
Hmm.
if I want to meet this deadline.
Which is it's funny because unpacking this with my therapist, I was like, I don't want to be an old dad. He goes, okay, you're gonna be 30. Like, fast forward 35, and yeah, okay. He goes, 35, you have your first kid. And I'm like, okay, like whatever. And he's like, fast forward 20 years, your kid's 20 years old, 55. Are you an old dad? I'm like, no. And he's like, okay, think about 5 years ago now. From right now, I would have been 24, being 29. He goes, seems like forever ago, right? And I'm like, oh, fuck, he's so right. And I'm like, God damn it. 5 years is a long fucking time. You know, a lot. Think about how much happens in 5 years.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Why
So
couldn't my therapist tell me that?
our therapist should get together and go bowling.
They would quit.
They're like, these two psychopaths.
All right. The next question I will preface by saying that I was a bit triggered by it at first when I read it, but we unpacked it a bit and I'm excited to get into it. So, this one I gotta say, it starts out pretty funny. Generally speaking, men are drawn to fucking, doing man shit, playing with man toys like boats, cars, etc., and being dynamic and adventurous. So why is it that women seem to be so drawn to monogamy, settling down, and the idea of the perfect wedding, house, family, and the white picket fence life? Is this something that they really want? Is it hardwired in them? Or is it something that society tells them that they should be? Woof. Okay.
Okay, so she had to take a deep breath because at first she was like, I fucking hate this question. She got super offended. And I was like, slow your roll. Like, you need to realize where this question is coming from, and let's just unpack it a little
And
bit.
I think first and foremost, after taking a minute to think about it, I would like to say, number one, thank you for asking the question because this did come from a male. I think a lot of times men are just like, oh, girls just like want to get married and want to have kids. Like, what the fuck? Like, why? And number one, like, thanks for asking why because usually we just get shit for it. No one actually cares
Yeah,
why.
no one asks the
Yeah.
question why.
Which kind of went into my answer was that anatomically women and men, our brains, our genetic makeup is very different, right? Like we process things differently, we ruminate on things longer, and women are often more emotionally driven than men, etc. So I think that changes the way that we respond to things, which was my initial answer, like, how don't you know that, what the hell? And then Bobby dropped some knowledge on me and actually calmed my crazy a bit. So Bobby.
Yeah, so the calm the crazy is because when she initially reads the question, she starts getting emotional, which is what we talked about earlier. She starts getting
Perfect
emotional.
example.
And yeah, it literally is a perfect example. And she starts to control alt delete some of the things in the rest of the question, because one of the biggest points of this question right in the middle of it is this hardwired in them, or is this something society tells them that they should be? And that is the climax of that question, actually. And unfortunately, the emotion took over Caitlin.
And I'll
And
own that, you're right.
yeah,
And, I will say there are very few instances in my life where someone's able to take my answer, especially if it's a passionate answer, and amend it, and Bobby
yes, thank you. She actually got me a trophy for it too. It's hanging up.
did.
But so I think to answer almost the question, not for you, because that's not what we're doing here, but I think that is the key point, is that just because women are hardwired or are wired differently than men doesn't mean that automatically equates to monogamy, married, white picket fence, children.
Right.
I think there is so much social pressure on the outside for women to think that that is truly what they need in life, and I think that's kind of fucked. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that goes both ways. I think there's societal pressures on men that are kind of fucked, like that we have to be macho and this, that, and the other thing. Like, I am more of an alpha male, which is fine, but I think it's kind of fucked that if someone isn't as alpha, then it's, whatever. But I think that is like I said, the climax of that question is the societal pressure that women have. And I think that's really where it comes from, is the fact that women probably don't think that way, but they've been trained to, unfortunately,
Right. And due
through
to
years of this pressure. Like when we unpacked this question, I said, just because you're hardwired for A, B, and C doesn't, why is X, Y, and Z, kids, white picket fence, marriage? What if it was the idea of you have to grow the grass in your front yard to the highest length and not cut it?
and
Like,
I
what if
think
that was the societal pressure?
and
Then
I
we would be having the same conversation, just about something different. You
but
know
I
what I mean?
think both of our points kind of work together, which is what we kind of landed on, is like because women tend to internalize and really think hard about things and really try to achieve certain constructs based on the way that we do process information, these societal pressures have a much bigger impact on us than maybe they would otherwise.
Yeah, and I think it's just like, because I love women, girl power, like, seriously, but I also can't leave my team behind. You know what I mean? So like, I think what it really shows is, or what it really sheds light on, is that no matter, you're hardwired this way, you're hardwired A, we're hardwired B, and that social pressures on A and B are equally as powerful.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. Yeah.
Equally as powerful, and how it can change how A and B react to things.
Right.
So the answer to the question was actually in the question,
Yeah.
is societal pressures, and outside of that, I bet you, I wonder if you flip the roles. I wonder if the societal pressure for men settle down. Like, would we be this, like, if this started hundreds and hundreds of years ago, for men to settle down and have the white picket fence and a family, and women were just out fucking raging? You know what I mean? It probably would be like that if society portrayed that on us. You know what I mean? I don't think because you're hardwired that you can't think that way. You know what I
Right,
mean?
but I do think that the way that men and women's brains, and I don't have all the psychology behind it, I used to, not all of it obviously, but there are certain things in both areas of the brain that make them gravitate towards those kinds of things, which then perpetuates that big societal pressure.
Basically, there is not one single answer to this question. There are so many different facets that come to it, and there's so many different pressures from 80 different angles that, you know, unfortunately, I think it's left up to each individual to decide if they're going to let that societal pressure affect them or not.
And also, I'd just like to say thank you for sticking up for the women on that one, because it's not our fault all the time. Okay.
No, it's not our fault. As she's like tearing up.
I do want a husband, but like I don't want to want a husband, but here we are.
Exactly. No. Like I said, girl power. I fucking, you know what I mean? I like to say I'm a feminist all the time.
I think you fall on that side of the argument.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm a feminist. Me and my buddy Pete were screaming at the bar the one time when we were out to brunch, getting all hammered up. We were like, let the girls fuck, which goes back to our first question of why can guys let the girls fuck?
I love
let
that.
the girls fuck. Dude, it was so funny.
I love that.
So funny. Speaking of letting the girls fuck, this is the age-old question that I think I even know the answer to, but we have to ask. It was asked actually a couple times, if I'm not mistaken, by people. How many times have you faked an orgasm? Or are you faking an orgasm?
In my early 20s and teens, that's all I did. That's what I did.
I was gonna say, I think I know the answer, and the answer is men.
Now?
She is and always will be faking it.
Oh,
sorry.
fuck no, absolutely not. No, hard no. Early 20s, teens, faked them all day. Once I learned that an orgasm was not a privilege, it is my right as a female, I stopped faking orgasms because it's unacceptable for a man to fuck me and not make me come. I'm sorry. I think it's disgusting. I think it's pathetic. I think it's embarrassing. And I think that men need to own up to the fact that just because you come doesn't mean it's over. I get to come too. And guess what? It's going to take a little bit longer, okay? On average, it takes a woman between 20 and 40 minutes of stimulation to come. Fun fact. And you want to know how I learned that? I did my research, like you fuckers should be. So I'm never faking an orgasm, and y'all need to look up how to make me come, and that is it.
I feel like I just got in trouble at school.
I just think
I
that
think
the
we have to
amount of
save
men.
this emotion because we do have a question later on that, you know what I mean, that kind of ties into
I
this.
can't
one.
remember because I'm so heated right now, but no,
Yeah.
I don't fake orgasms because that's just letting men get away with their laziness with fucking me. No way will I ever fake an orgasm. If someone's like, "Oh, did you come?" I'm like, "No."
Nope.
What are you gonna do about it?
So on that note, speaking of faking, do you watch porn?
No way.
Oh my God, no! I'm so innocent after I just screamed at Bobby for someone else asking a question.
Of course I watch porn. Are you kidding? Yes, love porn. Big fan.
Big fan.
One time I was actually watching porn in my apartment, and this is the one thing I'll say about living alone is like it really gives you the ability to have some me time a lot more because you're by yourself. So I always had my phone hooked up to my soundbar in my living room.
No. I already
and
know.
I went to go watch porn in my bedroom, and I'm like, why can't I hear it? And except it's on my phone, and all of a sudden it's booming across my apartment. I'm like, fuck, like paper thin walls,
shit. So I think, like I said, we wanted to hold that emotion because this isn't so much of a question, and I want to thank my buddy Pete for actually asking this question. But he basically was like, "This isn't a question, but a comment." And he's like, "When a guy asks a girl like what they like during sex, the worst answer you can ever give, ever, is quote everything. Everything. I like everything.
Oh, everything, Daddy. No.
Do you want me to punch you or do you want me to light candles? You know what I mean." Pick one because it can get drastically different. You know what I mean? Girls are into different things.
It's a lazy answer for anyone, men or women.
Exactly.
Oh, everything.
Everything. And I think the reason why you've made that turning point as far as like, you know, not faking an orgasm is because, you know, I think you as a person are a little bit more open as to what it takes in order for you to have an orgasm. And that's fine. And that's great. That's actually, we us men encourage us. Tell me what to do because guess what? Which another thing that we'll unpack in a little bit as well too. Not every blowjob is good, okay, and sex with you is not always good. You know, not you specifically, but like
that's rude. You wouldn't even know. Shut up.
So, you know, it's not always good. So like you have to like there's things that make me have an orgasm more than other things. So like you have to learn just as much as I have to learn. So like why not teach each other instead of like this like battle of like, oh, you should know and no, you should know. Like, how about if you give me like cliff notes, I'll work my way there. I'll give you some cliff notes and I'll figure out if you figure out your way there.
Right, just grow up and communicate. Like, I know it's not always easy to open up about what you like, but just simple stuff like very like you can whisper in his ear like touch my
I
clit, like
whisper in his ear, punch me in the face,
maybe that.
right hook, stone cold stunner.
Oh my God. Okay. On the topic of coming, what is the fastest that you've ever come? And was it with someone else or were you alone?
So see, this is tough because like, is it from start to finish?
I
You know
would
what I
say
mean?
yes, from just
From like
beginning
just
to end.
from sitting there totally flaccid, just fucking chilling, and then coming, or is it like okay, we've kind of been messing around or whatever, or like I've been in the mood to fucking pleasure myself, and then from that moment of like okay, I'm gonna decide to make the effort to coming. I mean, any guy who says that they haven't gone from 0 to 100 with their own hand and some porn faster than a girl has done it, they're lying. Like literally just sitting here right now, if you throw up some porn and I started jerking off, I would finish like that.
Like how long?
I mean, you're sitting here, so it might distract me a little
Oh
bit.
my
You know what I mean?
God.
But like my
Although
parents,
I will say this
my
though,
parents are
like
eating dinner upstairs.
I will
That's a
say
little
though,
distracting.
I've had guys that I have like literally gone one pump down in their wiener and then splooge in my mouth like that quickly. Like I don't know that he could do that by himself as quickly.
Yeah, but you have to remember there's the anticipation build
Okay,
up. You get
that's
what I'm
true.
saying? So
Yeah,
it's a
it's
really
a
hard.
loaded
It is a
question.
very, very loaded question. I think it
Okay.
would be the same for girls too.
Oh no, 100%. It's by myself every time.
Well,
A thousand
actually,
percent.
yeah, that makes
Like
sense.
like I have to like hold off when I'm by myself because it's just I know what I like and I'm using a toy. So
Yeah,
it's
fair enough.
it's faster.
I
However,
I think the answer is always by yourself, like
but
without a doubt.
I'll say this, I prefer to have one from someone else. Like although I can
Oh
make it
yeah,
happen quicker, way quicker, more efficiently, and the way that I like it by myself, it feels better from somebody else every single time,
absolutely.
hands down. And I want to say this to guys who get intimidated by girls and their vibrators because believe it or not, there's a lot of guys out there that are like, "Oh, I hope I'm as good as your vibrator." Like, no, you're not. But
You'll never be.
when I do eventually get there, like it's way better when you're doing it than when I'm doing it.
And on top of that, guess what, ladies? It doesn't matter. You'll never make me finish as fast as my own hand.
Right. And I'm
So
okay
it's
with that.
yeah, it's a double edged sword. Like it's the same thing, same idiot cut from a different cloth. You know
Right.
what I mean? So it doesn't
Correct.
matter.
All right. So we're gonna bring this a full 180.
Probably this is like a 720. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm dizzy from turning so many times. Okay, so here was an interesting question. Why do men not intervene more when they witness women being publicly disrespected by other men? So, for example, whether it's being hit on or catcalling, or if someone's talking shit about a girl, like, why don't men step in?
I think this also ties into like societal pressures as well. Like, men need to be these like alpha, like I don't give a fuck, like I fuck all these bitches and like I don't give a shit kind of attitude. One of the examples in here though that I do want to kind of talk about a little bit is locker room talk.
Is that even a thing?
Yes. So like but here's my thing though. Locker room talk, I think there is a level of locker room talk that is acceptable. I think
I agree
you,
because we do it too.
the fact that guys get shit for locker room talk and girls don't is bullshit because damn well if a guy sends a risque text or something like that, damn well it's getting screenshotted and sent right to her fucking
Well, I
friends.
almost think we just eliminate that from the conversation because if you're not talking about a dude with your girlfriends and vice versa, like you're either lying or you're lame.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah. So there's just no way. So I think there's now, if you're in the locker room and you're just like totally fucking degrading and this and the other thing, there's a line. I get it. I would say 99% of the time, it's just trying to be funny. You know what I mean?
but I
Like,
think I'm more interested in like in public is kind of what I think the
Oh, in
question was
public, I don't stand
asking.
for any of that shit. I was actually at a bar right down the street from here where I saw a dude literally clock a girl in the face. Yeah, and me and my buddy Caleb ran over and fucked this kid up. Like Caleb just threw them in the corner. They started tussling at it, and some dude came over and was like, "Fuck you, dude." And I was just like, "Fuck you, I'll
But what
kick the shit
about
out of you." And he was like, "No, it's cool. That's his wife." And I'm like, "What? Like that
what?
makes any better?"
Like,
Yeah,
were
it
you
was.
just like, "Oh, okay, my
Yeah,
bad."
dude, he fucking slugged her. But no, I mean, like, I saw it happen, and it was initial reaction. I mean, there was no, it was fight or flight, and it was fight immediately.
Okay, well, can I ask this? What if you're in a group of your guy friends and not physically, but what if one of your guy friends is just airing his girlfriend out and like talking about her in a really negative way, calling her a bitch, etc.?
I would tell them that they need to have that conversation elsewhere. Don't put me in that position to have to fuck you up.
I love that. I
Don't
wish
put
all
me
men
in
did
that.
that.
Don't, and that goes for her too. Not that I would ever physically assault a woman, but don't put me in a position that I have to put your shit out on the street.
Right.
I don't like. I don't like. I'll do it too. I have no problem doing it, but don't do it. If you're having issues in between you two, go figure it out on your own. Go figure it out. It's There is a time and place for everything, and at the bar or whatever in front of your friends is 99 times out of 100 not the place to do it.
So I think maybe you were the good answer to that question. So thank you. I appreciate that
You're
because I
welcome.
think when you are pretty good about standing up for women when you see anything
Well,
bad happening.
so to lighten the mood a little bit, Caitlin, why would you pass over a guy or guys that you know are quote unquote such good guys? And I guess the question back to me would be such good girls to date a project with 40 red flags.
Well, I look good in red, first of all.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, I think everyone's the same with this. Like, everyone likes a challenge, first and foremost, and the safe bet, you're probably gonna get there eventually after you've been fucked over a bunch by said red flag holder. But there's just something about that challenge that just like it just keeps you going back. Is it healthy? Absolutely not. Do I hope at some point I'll not go that way? Sure.
Mm.
Will I? Stay tuned.
I think for guys, like I think where this like the reverse of this question, why guys wouldn't go for a girl with 12 red flags, I would say if you're younger, 9 times out of 10 it's because she's super hot. Like
Yeah.
let's be honest, it's because she's super hot.
hmm
And you're like, fuck it, yeah, she's cheating on every other dude, or yeah, she's jerking that other guy off in the corner, but like maybe I can change her. You know what I mean?
Well, I
Like
mean, the same thing is for girls. Like, I'll change him. He'll
e-
change for me.
exactly, because she's super hot. I think as you get older, I think that comes with a lot of maturity as well too in both parties.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? So I think as you get older, you realize that you see a red flag, you start to see a pattern that you're just walking right past these red flags and continuing this journey, and then decide, I'm not going to do this anymore. That's more of a self-reflection
Yeah.
than it is anything.
hmm
Um, this is a ridiculous question. Do you prefer guys that will fart in front of you or never fart in front of you?
I think that this question has an interesting answer for me. I don't want a guy that never farts because eventually I'm gonna have to fart in front of him. Like,
Ah,
I've never farted in my life, but I feel like one day it'll happen
okay,
in front
okay,
of a guy.
okay.
So that's inevitably going to be the case. So I would like him to fart at some point. However, I would like him to wait the appropriate amount of time. Recently, I went out with a guy, and I believe it was the third date. He had stayed at my apartment, and he was like walking around, and he just like farted like a bunch in my apartment. Like, I'm like, okay, like, can you at least like pretend that you're
Do
still
you know
trying
my
to
middle name?
I'm gonna do exactly. Like I'm like try and pretend that you're still trying to like woo me a little bit and impress me. If you're just ripping ass in front of me on our third date, like that's disrespectful to me, in my opinion. And then maybe not everyone feels this way, but to me, I'm like, you gotta keep the illusion alive for a little bit. The same way that I'm waking up in the morning for the first 3 months with you, and I am going to the bathroom, brushing my hair and mouth washing a little bit because I want us to look cute in front of you a little
Mhm.
bit. Like, am I gonna have the days where I roll over and I smell like a foot? Absolutely. But
Yeah.
has that happened yet? No. So until then, don't fart in front of me.
Fair enough. That's an easy one. This might be
Wait, what about you? How do you feel about girls farting in front of you?
I mean, that's the same. You know what I mean? It's inevitable that it's going to happen. So, like, but timing, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just as much as you want a guy to like woo you, I still want you to be somewhat like ladylike. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I hate to even use that term ladylike because now that I think about it, it's like kind of sexist. It's like, I kind of
But
just
it
want you
is
to
what
be
it is.
No,
Yeah.
I just want you to be respectful. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not just going to like, I don't know.
Well, it's the whole relationship thing. You want to kind of keep the illusion that like you're this like mythical, wonderful creature alive for as long as you possibly can.
Correct.
Once you
Correct.
start ripping ass, you're like, oh shit, you're actually just a human.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Damn it. So, fit bod or dad bod? I
I,
already know the answer to this
I'll
question.
say this: my answer has definitely shifted recently. I've always said in the past, like, give me a dad bod because it's less pressure for me, right? Like, if I'm dating a guy that does not have a perfect body, I'm like, fuck yeah, we're eating pizza on Sunday, and if I go to the gym, I go to the gym. If I don't, that's fine too. I don't really care. But the guy that I'm dating right now is really in shape, and I don't know why he doesn't care that I don't work out as much as I should, but he doesn't. So I get to still eat the pizza on the Sunday and sleep with the really hot fit man, which like actually if you sleep with a man who's more built, even if you aren't equally built, you still don't really jiggle as much
Oh my.
because like it's not like fat against each other. This is disgusting, but it's just true. So I'll say this, like I
I,
don't care. Ultimately, I don't care,
mhm.
but oh, a fit
I
body
feel like
is
the
just more
answer
fun.
I feel like every girl I've ever asked this question is they always say if it's a one night stand, I like the fit bod, relationship, dad bod.
I mean, I don't know. I have a fit bod right now, and it's one of my favorite things about him.
Mm, well, there you
If
go.
he got like, if I met him and he wasn't fit, that wouldn't have made a difference
Well,
at
there you
all.
go. Yeah,
So,
there you go.
and if he got fat now, like I would be like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Just join the
Yeah.
club. We have jackets, but
We have
but
jackets.
okay. So this is kind of a similar question, but also just like a preference. Do you prefer a petite girl, like a very thin girl, or a thick broad, like thick with like three C's? Thick.
Okay. I think you know my answer to
I
this.
actually don't.
No, come on. I said it to you the other day. I don't really have a type. I just like girls. I,
True.
I love girls.
True.
There are girls that I see that are thicker that I'm like, damn, that girl's fucking sexy. And then there's girls who are petite with no assets essentially, and I'm like, that girl's fucking beautiful. You know, I don't really. It really. I don't know. I don't have like a crazy preference. I do like a nice butt, and nice butts don't have to be big. But that's. I mean,
And big butts aren't always nice either,
also, yeah, also true. Yeah, the other
depending on your
side of
preference.
yeah. But I would say I do prefer a little bit more of a petite girl because like I'm like kind of a thicker, bigger guy, so I kind of like, and I'm very alpha
He's
in a
making
sense.
like a bear hug
Yeah,
motion right
you
now.
know
You
what I
guys
mean.
can't see
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Like I don't know. Like I just like to be able to like just pick up my little nugget and just this is my little nugget.
He's
You know
holding
what I
her
mean?
like a football. Like this
Yeah,
girl
just
is
yeah,
like
like here you go. You
is
know,
like
like
3'2".
yeah. So like I don't know. I just kind of prefer. I don't know. I would say I would lean more towards petite, but you bring over a girl with thick thighs and a thick butt, I'm not turning it down. Absolutely not.
Spoken like a true gentleman. I love it.
Hey,
So say you have this thick or petite girl that's super hot, and then she has one thing about her that you just can't stand. What is the most unattractive quality about a hot female?
oh man. I think that a girl who knows she's hot and has expectations of just being a hot girl. You know what I mean? Like there's more to you than just being hot. And if you have that expectation, well, because I'm hot, I can do this and I can do that. Like, no, I don't
Right.
care. Literally, because I've said this before to some friends, you know what I mean? And I'm not trying to this is a humble brag, but like I've been with some very attractive women.
I can confirm he has.
Like very attractive. Boxing way outside my weight class. And if you're a hot girl that has this sense of arrogance, I'm just gonna tell you, I've fucked girls hotter than you, so I don't care. You know what I mean? Like I don't think you're that good.
I think I've been there when you've called girls out before when they've been like rude like
Yeah,
that.
like, dude,
They're just,
don't
like, dismissive and very, like, they expect free drinks, and they
yeah,
expect to be able to, like, just shit on people, and
yeah,
I know what you mean.
don't think that you're just better than me because you're hot. Like I've been with girls hotter than you, so clearly I bring enough value to sleep with a girl of your physical
Well, they're
hierarchy.
not above you.
But you're not above me. I don't let anybody disrespect me. I always used to say, I don't care if you're the goddamn president of the United States. You don't ever disrespect me. I don't give a fuck. But yeah, I would say that like sense of like hot girl arrogance. I guess that's what we'll call it.
Yeah.
Hot girl arrogance. That shit can go out the window, bro. I'm done with that.
I think that my answer is actually the same, but on the flip side, like, douchiness is, like, kind of how I think of it with the guy. Like, when you're hot, you're used to getting what you want in a lot of different senses of that statement,
So
and
fuck
douchey
off if you don't
guys
get it. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So this is a good one for Caitlin. Um, should kids be
Oh
brought up on the
god.
first date if you have them, or if you want them or don't want them?
Well, I guess now is a good time to mention that the man I'm dating has kids. Um,
Bing bang.
and I think this is actually super interesting to get into. My answer is a hard yes. If they already have kids, and
So
here's
if they
why.
already have kids, you should bring it. But I think nowadays too, I think that question kind of almost answers itself because I think if you meet someone 9 times out of 10, even before you meet them, like for a first date, you know if they have kids or not. Like with
Right.
like dating apps,
But
this,
I
that, and the
mean
other
but I
thing.
mean, like, the conversation about wanting kids. Because for me, when we first met, I knew that he had kids, and I knew that he had that family aspect in his life already. I want kids. It's a very big part of what I want in my life, and I'm not ever willing to compromise that for anyone that I meet. So for me, it was like, I really don't even wanna go on a date with you if you have no interest in having more children, because I would never wanna put myself in a position where I have to choose between the person that I love and what I really want for myself. So I think
You don't
honestly,
think
like,
that's like a lot for a first date though? I feel like it's good for a
I mean, it's
second.
definitely a lot, but I also think, like,
I think a second date because I think you need to figure out if you even just enjoy spending time with that person first.
yeah, but you're also a lot more of a healthy dater than I am. For me, I'm like, I wanna know literally everything about you within 10 minutes of meeting you.
Yeah,
Like,
we
I
said
always
that.
ask Bobby
You said that last week. You were
I
like, "I
always
want to know your
ask
blood type like right away."
I always ask Bobby after his dates. I'm like, "Did you like her?" He's like, "Well, I don't even know her." I'm like, "W
Yeah,
is is that how I should be answering this
yeah, like
question?"
I'm still trying to get to know who this person is as a person.
What do
So
so you think second date?
I think second date's fair. Like again, I think the first part of the question, as far as like, do you have kids, or if you already have them, that's kind of already answered ahead of time. But like, if you want them or don't want them, especially if you're dating an older or female or male, um, yeah, I think second date's fair. Give them one date to figure out if you even enjoy spending time with them first. You know what I mean? Because what if you really, really enjoy spending time with them and then they change your mind about what you want? You never know. You know what I mean? So you just don't know, and I think that's too much to unpack on a first date.
Okay, fine, you're right.
Okay, fine.
Second date, and that's as far as I'll go.
Do you ever fear that your desire to become a mother will affect your professional goals and aspirations? And if you knew that it was the only way to achieve those professional aspirations, would you put off having kids?
I think that women in general battle with this, especially career-driven women like myself. I think it's always in the back of my mind, like, what is gonna happen when that point in my life comes, right? I think it's always kind of been a race in some way. If I get to point X before I have kids, it's gonna be easier for me to step away from that and resume it versus if I'm still climbing the ladder to get there and then I get pregnant, like, do is that a roadblock? Is that a stopping point for me? I know a lot of having children is very hormonal, and a lot of what you think you know and what you thought you wanted changes when you have kids. So
Hmm.
that is a fear of mine. If I thought that putting it off having children would help me attain my goals, uh, at this point where I sit today, right now, I say yes. But if I'm in love with someone and they really
That
want to
answer
have
might
kids
change.
right now, yeah, who's to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's unfortunate that women have to deal with this too, in the sense because I was a business major, so yeah, I have the social side of me that is like, dude, women are the shit, like, whatever. And then there's the business side where you have to like look at it where am I going to give this girl a promotion with the idea that she might get pregnant? Because that's money. Yeah, it's
I've
time
actually
off.
never thought about
You
that
have to think
before.
of you have to think unfortunately, from a business perspective, I have to pay this woman maternity leave. I have to pay her for her not to be here and to not doing her job because she has to be a mother, which is the greatest thing that a woman can ever do is become and one of the greatest things that they can do is become a mother and bring life, and it's beautiful. But I have to pay you to not do your job. And my job as a business owner is to generate income and generate revenue for my investors and to make the most out of my most possible out of my business. And that clearly is not doing that because I have to
Ooh.
pay somebody else to come in and do your job for you. So that's very like I said, I'm torn between the two, and it's unfortunate that this is the case. But I think that is the paradox between why men get paid more than women, or part of the paradox. Why? Because, and there's other reasons too that I won't even get into. Um, but I think that's unfortunately that struggle internally from the male perspective, especially like I said, because I was a business major. I studied entrepreneurship, which is literally starting your own fucking business. So, it's really hard, and I feel it's very unfortunate that I don't have an answer.
I
I really don't. It's really really hard for me to be like because I want to support the women. Because we don't carry the baby around, so I want to support the women, but at the same time, business is business, and there's no emotion in business. So it's tough. And basically I envy you women, and I feel sorry that we don't have an answer for you.
All right. Well, with that question, the answer pisses me off, but I'm not mad at you. I'm just mad at like
The
the
idea,
world for that.
yeah,
So it
yeah.
is what it is. So on that note, when you're getting a blowjob,
So speaking of,
uh, can you? What is the sensation like on the shaft of your wiener? Can you feel it?
okay, so let me just preface this, women, if you're not using your hands during a blowjob, then you're not giving a good blowjob.
It sounds like bobbing for apples to me. If you're not,
Correct. So,
what in your experience when they're not using their hands, where are their hands?
it's a good question. Usually I'm not paying attention because I'm like, man, this sucks. This is not a good blowjob. Where are they?
Maybe on the bed, like holding themselves up,
Yeah, or like on my thigh or something like that. You know what I mean?
like holding a gun to their head. Like I don't know what I'm doing. Kill me now. Is that
Yeah.
too vulgar?
No.
Anyway.
Yeah, you need to be using your hands. I would say 70% of a good blowjob is actually what your hands are doing and not exactly what your mouth is doing.
So you can feel what's happening on the shaft,
If you're using your hands,
but not if
clearly.
you're using your tongue.
If you're just like you said, bobbing for apples, I mean, how far down are you actually getting?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like there's so many other sensations going on. It's kind of like deleted. Basically, women, you need to be learning to use your hands and to give good blowjobs
Got it.
because that's the answer.
Love that.
So, men, we've all been here. We've all asked this question. And Caitlin, I am praying you have an answer for us. Is saying you're okay when you're really not okay worth the argument?
Yes. I will say this.
She's like, yes, I'm toxic as fuck.
Well, because sometimes here's the thing that happens in our heads is like, and this is a piece that I also want to mention that's worth knowing for both men and women. Like I said earlier, women's brains work differently than men, right? So what we think sometimes okay, so say you and I are in a relationship, Bobby, and we're in an argument
Mhm.
and you've done something to upset me and you ask, "Are you okay?" And you don't realize that you've upset me and I am not okay. I would like in my woman brain to tell you, "Yeah, yeah, I'm good." But I want you to know that I'm not okay because you know me so well. You're so in tune with our relationship. You care about me so much. You should know when I'm not
Yeah,
okay.
of course, because we have to be mind readers.
So, but this is my point is other women know when other women are not okay because our brains work the same.
Hmm.
Not all the same, but very similarly. Men's brains are not wired the same as women's to be able to detect not okayness as easily as other women.
Correct. Yeah.
So I think that we want to push men to figure out why we're not okay. Um, and a lot of time they can't, and it
Mhm.
ends up causing a bigger fight.
Yes.
But I don't know it takes a lot of self-awareness and a lot of vulnerability and a lot of just being really transparent with your partner and communicating very well that you are not okay. And also a little bit of your swallowing your pride and saying like,
I'm not
okay,
okay.
I'm not okay. And I realize that you don't even recognize that what you did would warrant me to be not okay. So you're now I'm saying number one, no, I'm not good. Number two, I'm not good because you did this, and you probably don't even realize that this was hurtful. So now I'm just looking hella emotional for no reason.
Yeah, but I can tell you this from the guy's perspective. Tell us. We can't read minds. We don't know this shit. And we would rather, I can tell you this, at least me, I would rather have that conversation than have you walking around the kitchen slamming cabinets or the closet doors or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because when you go, are you okay? And you're like, I'm fine. And then, like I said, you're cutting the knife, like, or you're cutting the vegetables like really hard. You take the laundry and you throw it down, or like you go out in the garage and you slam the door and you're like, what the fuck?
But a lot
Like,
of times we try and be okay, and then we realize the more that you're like, "Oh, she's good, she's fine." You're like, "You mother
yeah, but see,
I'm
I'd rather you be
oh,
like,
how
well,
was this for okay?" Like, but you don't even realize it until the man is just like, "Oh, okay, like, she's good." And you're like, "You idiot."
okay, well, then that's when you go, actually, I'm not okay. Always have the conversation.
Oh, God bless you guys, honestly.
So how do you, and I mean, for guys being kind of like clueless fucks for the most part, how do you feel about a guy who plays like a lot of video games?
Oh, I have been fortunate that both of my exes didn't play a lot of video games. Towards the end of my last relationship, he started to, and I will say this: it is the most unattractive thing that I think a man can do. I think it is like them. I think it's funny because men are like, "Oh, we're not emotional. Like we're not." You get really passionate about like you're romantic and you're when you express how you feel about me, like you have all these beautiful words to use. We're just not as passionate at you, and yet if you miss a shot, I don't even know what the
Mm,
terminology is. You're playing Call of Duty and you fuck up. You're playing what is it?
like
2K?
2K.
Yeah, and you fuck up. Best believe a man is up there, all the passion, all the rage, all the words, all the feelings, expressing every emotion this man has possibly ever felt in his lifetime. So you want to tell me you're not emotional? You seem pretty fucking emotional right now. And also, it's really a turnoff when a man's yelling at a
At a
TV.
13-year-old boy who's whooping his ass in Madden.
It's like I have never wanted to fuck you less than I do right now. Like you're calling a 13-year-old boy a pussy. Like that's my man.
You showed him.
No, like, and I don't know. To me, it's just like doing it once in a while. Fine, whatever. Everybody has hobbies. That's cool. But like,
If it's a habit, that's different.
I would just prefer like just do it when I'm not home. Like if you're gonna yell at 13-year-olds, do you, Bill, but do it when I'm not around because I am guarantee you like there is not a world where you're gonna do that and then be like, yeah, you want to do it? Like, no, it's
N-
disgusting.
Nah, you're gross.
All right, so we are gonna wrap it up with a question for the gentleman in the house. I think it's pretty obvious that society puts a lot of pressure on women to look good. We spend a lot of money to look beautiful or feel beautiful, whether that's makeup, clothes, etc. Sometimes it's our weight, whatever that might be. So for dudes, like what are some of the biggest societal pressures that you guys face on a regular basis that you think people might not realize?
I think we touched on this a little bit earlier in the sense that I think one of the biggest ones is that alphaness. You know what I mean? I feel like that there's this pressure that like
Like
men,
masculinity?
yeah, this masculinity that like I'm gonna walk into this girl's life and I'm gonna be the man and I'm gonna take her out on these dates and I'm gonna do all these things for her and I need to do that and it's like I feel like the pureness in a regular guy is lost.
What do you mean by that?
Like society and I would say a lot of social media too has put a lot of pressure on the fact that like guys need to spoil these girls. You know what I mean? Oh, you need to do this. You need to do that in order to get this. You know what I mean? And it's like I feel like if some women would take a step back and kind of just look at like, wow, this guy is fucking normal. Okay. He's treating me like a normal person. He's not trying to overly impress me. He's not trying to be this tough guy. He's not trying, he's just a fucking genuine person. I don't even want to use the term normal because I feel like normal like makes you sound boring, but just like someone who being a genuine person, I think is very hard to come by, whether you're male, female, or whatever. And I think that the alphaness that is imposed on us as men, that you need to do all these extravagant things to be successful financially, to be successful with girls, to be this. Like one of the things that I think I've mentioned on another podcast or episode that I was struggling with some breakup stuff and this and the other thing, and I was talking to my buddy Mike about it, and um, I was like, "Hey, man," like, and I was expressing feelings, and I go, "Bleh," and I just said something, you know what I mean? And I was like, "Oh shit," I was like, "I haven't said that out loud," and we were on the phone. He was like, "Feels kind of good to be a little vulnerable, right?" And I was like, "Yeah,
I
it
want to know what that
does."
vulnerable thing is
Yeah,
now.
like yeah,
So do you mean like when you say the pressure to be masculine, do you mean not having those vulnerable moments, or
yes,
do you mean like taking
to
people out
being
on dates? Or like, what
no,
do you mean
like
by that?
being vulnerable. I think that really what it kind of boils down to is like guys are not allowed to be vulnerable. The fact that we've even said it before, you know how like, wow, Bobby, like, and actually someone this weekend commented, they're like, "You're in therapy?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Wow, that's I didn't expect a guy to be in therapy." I'm like, "Yeah, we do it too. We fucking need it." And like,
Well, especially because you do portray a lot of this macho man-ness
yeah,
that you're talking about too. So it's interesting.
and
I was definitely taken back when I heard that you were in therapy.
yeah, and I think there's a problem with that. I think like this, like I said, this pressure, you know, the societal pressure to just be so tough. You know what I mean? Like we don't need to be tough all the time. Like it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel heartbreak. It's okay to feel to mourn. It's okay to feel these feelings. Like do you ever notice like when you're talking to someone or like if you're at a funeral, do you ever notice like when you see the dad cry or like you see like, you know, the brother cry, it hits you a little bit
Absolutely,
harder. And it's
100%.
like, why though? Why? That you know, if someone's, you know, dad dies or something like that, it affects the brother just as much as it does the daughter.
That's a really
And
good
it's like,
point.
but how come you walk up, you're expecting Susie to cry, but you're not expecting Brandon to cry?
Wow.
And it's like, why does that hit so much more? I've seen my dad cry. I've lost it. I can't. I've seen my mom cry a bunch as well too. My dad nearly not as much. But when I see my mom cry, not that it doesn't hurt as much. It's just
More acceptable,
it's a little
which
bit more
is kind
acceptable,
of messed up to say, but yeah.
which is what this societal pressure is. It's acceptable. Where I saw my dad cry and I was like, holy shit! Like something is serious and this fucking hurts.
So I think what your message here is let men be vulnerable. And on the flip side of that, for the beginning of the question, let girls have pimples and not always look perfect.
Yes, absolutely.
Sweatpants at the bar. You said it tonight. Let's
Yeah,
go, baby.
sweatpants at the bar, as long as they're just like not covered in paint and you look like you rolled out of a trash can. And even then, there are some girls who can pull that off.
So like a girl at the bar can wear sweatpants and then a guy can cry.
Yes.
And then that's utopia.
Yeah, that is how high tides raise all ships. That's where we're at.
All right, guys. Wow, that was fun. I was longer than I expected it to be, but you know what? I had a good time doing
No,
it.
no, that was like again, I can't thank everybody enough for you know sending us all these questions and everything. It was a blast. I mean, this was a great episode.
I learned a lot about you that I was surprised by, and about men. Mostly my learning about the whole like peeing and going number two at the same time. I've always wondered that.
The fair, of
I'm
course.
so glad I had a
I,
podcast to ask it on.
I love the fact that out of all the great questions we had asked, the one thing that she was happy about was peeing and pooping.
But no, for real, your answers were impressive, and
Thank
shout
you.
out to you.
Yeah, shout out to you as well. There's
Thank
some
you.
things I learned, not so much about you, but about women. You know what I mean? I learned about you as well too. Don't worry. But I do want to thank everybody for sending in so many questions. I mean, we could go on for 6 hours about this, and maybe we'll do another episode like this as well. But you know, specific shout outs go out to my friend Tiffany, buddy Nick, Jeannie, Scott, Emily, Pete, Liv, Tyler, Wagner, Rita, and Richie.
Thank you guys so much. You made this episode, and
Yes.
we had 12 hours ago. We literally had no idea what we're doing. So
Yeah.
thank you guys.
Yes, thank you. On that note, Feel free to follow the Irregular Podcast Instagram at Irregular Podcast. Also follow my personal page at Yobob, EYOOO_BOB.
And my personal Instagram page at Katie_ANI. That's KAITY_ANI. And you know the drill. We're looking for guests. If you have a good story, if you have something you're passionate about, a struggle, hit us up. We want to hear from you.
On that note, we will talk to you next Thursday. Love you.
Love you guys.